Okay, today we're going to be making some watercolor blocks from paper that I already have. What we're going to do is we're going to test that the paper is suitable for painting. This first sheet of paper, notice how the water just absorbed into it. It's almost like blotter paper. The other two sheets of paper, you can actually see the glistening of the water sitting on top of the paper, and that's what you want. You want the second two samples. That paper has proper sizing on it, and the water will not absorb into it like a blotter paper. If it's blotter paper, it's impossible to paint with. You can never hold an edge. It just absorbs and sucks all the pigment, and it's not suitable for watercolor. But the other two top sheets are. Now these are larger sheets. I've had them for many years. Speaking about many years, be aware that you can buy some watercolor paper, put it in a drawer. 5 years later, take that paper out and find out that the sizing has disappeared and it's no longer there. So it's important to go ahead and test each sheet of paper, especially if you got a number of them, before you put this watercolor blocks together. So test them, make sure that they still have the sizing on it, and then go ahead and cut them up. What I'm doing here is I'm calculating what the best use, how to cut that large sheet of paper. There it is. I've cut all the sheets of paper. I'm using a lot of my old watercolor blocks that all the paper has already been spent, and I've just kept the front sheet and the back sheet in storage, and now I'm going to reuse them. Now some of these, there I am reusing old watercolor that's already been painted on, but I'm going to still put them all together and use the opposite side. So you can use two sides of the watercolor paper, provided that they both have sizing still on it. It's a great way to reuse paper that you have. Typically it's going to be a little bit more economical to buy larger sheets and cut them down yourself and make these blocks yourself. Now these larger ones, I do like to glue all four sides. When they're smaller, like a 5x7, I'll just glue one side and make it kind of like a book. You have the different leaves, the different sheets of paper, and then you glue one edge, and you create like a spine or spline. So I'm using that little clip, that little clamp, just to hold the sheets together so they don't move while I'm putting this 1x2. And what I'm doing here is I've taken all of the new leaves, I've put them together, cut them all the same size, and I'm going to use these two clamps to help to close the leaves together so that there isn't any space between the different leaves of paper. Now I'm going to notice, or you do notice, that I made these vertical wooden wedges because some of those leaves didn't close, and so this is helping to push them all together. Now after you put about 2 or 3 coats, a couple coats of this rubber cement, they will stay and you can remove the wedges. And this is just regular Elmer's rubber cement, paper rubber cement. I think these are maybe 4-ounce containers, and they come with a little applicator. It is a solvent based, and the rubber takes about maybe 8 minutes, maybe 10 minutes to dry, and when it dries it is still tacky. Also note that if you get some of the glue on the front of the paper where you are painting, you can, with your finger, go ahead and rub it off without risk of damaging the front of the paper. Here I'm going to apply a little bit more pressure. Now since that edge of the table is occupied, I'm going to go ahead and take a couple of other pieces of wood. Note that the pieces of wood are not flush with the edge of the paper that we're going to be gluing. We want it to be below the surface of the area that we're gluing, so that we're not gluing the wooden blocks to the edge of the paper. So I've got them down about 1/4 of an inch below the surface. What I'm doing here is I've got the sheets of paper. Some of them are not very smooth and are not uniform the same thickness, and so I just sanded to make all the edges nice and smooth and flat and uniform. I'm being fairly generous with the first coat of rubber cement. You can kind of see how I'm putting it on. I get it fairly thick. These smaller sheets, I only do one side, and I find that that works quite well. It's a lot easier to take the sheets on and off. Speaking about on and off, you can, let's say you've done a painting and you don't like it. Well, you can take that same sheet of paper, flip it around, and you can stick it back on the watercolor block, and it will adhere back to the rubber cement that's connected to the other sheets of paper. That's a new roll, or new tube of Elmer's rubber cement. I do think this is solvent based, so be aware not to be breathing too many of the fumes. In terms of drying, fairly quickly. I mean, I think you can, within about 7 minutes, apply a second coat without disturbing the first coat that you put down. Again, note that the 2x4, the 1x2 is below the surface of the paper that we're gluing, so that we don't want to glue the wooden block to the paper. And if there is rubber cement on the surface, the front or the back of the watercolor paper, you can take your thumb and it easily rubs off without damaging the front of the paper. Being fairly generous, fairly liberal with the cement. So this is an example. A different way to clamp these pieces together. What I like about this is that you're using the metal tabletop as a way to strengthen all of the sheets of paper so that they're flat. Now the opposite side may not be flat depending on how well you cut them, but at least one edge will be nice and flat and smooth. So though I have some of this video sped up, I would say the total time between organizing, cutting the paper, putting it together, is probably about maybe 40, 45, 50 minutes to put all these blocks together. You are kind of watching this double time. So this is a smaller piece, and I'm only gluing one edge. Smaller pieces like a 5x7 really don't require rubber cement on all four sides. Larger sheets like a 10x12, 12x16, I do like to have rubber cement on all four sides. Just to keep my process going while I'm used up the other side of that metal table. I'm just using 2 blocks of wood at this point to hold the pieces together. Being very liberal with my glue. I'm avoiding putting glue on the wooden blocks. I don't want the wooden blocks to be stuck to the paper. Keeping my system going, so I've got enough wooden blocks that let's say I've got 5 pairs or 5 watercolor blocks that I'm going to make. Well, I've cut enough pieces of wood to accommodate all the pieces, so I can keep a nice process going, not have to sit and wait till one coat dries. Yeah, I think you'll find this to be very customizable. You can make these blocks any size you want. You can even make very small blocks like a 4x5 or a 5x6, which are real sweet little blocks of to have for like quick sketches, for quick watercolor sketches. I like them when I feel like I need to paint and I don't really want to, or not, I don't have enough time to sit and do a longer painting. Then I'll take out a smaller watercolor block, and they're great. It's more like you're doing a sketch, which oftentimes may be better because it's less contrived and less worked. So again, you're going to note that the the 1x2s are below the surface of the paper. Yeah, something there I don't like. I can't remember. Yeah, I think that particular sheet wasn't being able to lay flat, so I decided to go ahead and use the edge of the table saw to really clamp it and keep it straight. As you know, art materials cost quite a bit, and the more innovative, more you're able to reuse material that you already have, or even get discount on sheets of paper, you may find that this technique to be very beneficial and cost saving to be able to make your own paper. We do have one final step, and that is you're going to see me taking a little bit of duct tape, and the main edge that we glue, we're going to support it with a piece of duct tape, and that duct tape is ready to hold the back of the sheet, the front of the sheet, and the different watercolor paper. So there I'm kind of measured the size of it. I'm going to go ahead and put this directly in the middle. Again, this looks just like building a book, making a book. You've got a spline, you've got this reinforcement on the edge so that you can open and close that dust cover, that front sheet, the protective cover. That's the back. So it does a nice job of unifying and keeping everything together. Also much more protective so that a sheet doesn't come loose by itself. Yeah, that's pretty much it. The only other thing to do is the side that you put the duct tape on, you don't have to worry about it being sticky. The other sides I like to pick up a little bit of lint or dust to take the tack away. So again, thank you for watching. Happy painting. Remember, subscribe and like.